Good afternoon, I'm Paige Crongy.
And I'm Camilo Martinez. Our top stories.
Remembrance Sunday in Buckinghamshire. Institutional racism by Thames Valley Police.
The devastating loss of life in the First World War has shaped the way we remember the day the guns around Europe fell silent. Many of the traditions now so familiar came from the determination of one generation not to forget what they lived through. Ingrid Hoxer reporting.
Crowds gathered in Buckingham in a reverent remembrance of the men and women who gave their lives during the Great War. Remembrance Day initially started as a day to remember the sacrifice of the fallen soldiers during World War I, but the day has grown to commemorate all those that have died from all sides and in all wars. Remembrance Day continues to have a great significance for all, regardless of age.
We usually come dressed in uniform, but we didn't this year, so yeah, we go every year.
My father and grandfather fought in the First and Second World Wars.
It's remembering people that fought and died so we can do what we want to do.
It is very significant, and also to remember the old boys have done what they did. It's just nice to see everybody out here with all the medals.
Next year will commemorate 100 years since the First World War, and the reverence looks set to grow even stronger.
The national minimum wage has come under scrutiny in recent months as the cost of living in London continues to soar. How have Londoners benefited by the 6p increase? Jason Manadasa finds out.
The national minimum wage was increased by 6p on October the 1st, with Business Secretary Vince Cable pointing out that the rise was due to the economy's steady recovery and the government's target of sharing the benefits of this fairly across the board. The truth, however, is that the cost of living continues to climb, with wages failing to keep up with the higher prices in London. So how are Londoners coping, and do they feel they are being paid a fair wage?
Nah, I don't think we get paid enough at all. You know, for the kind of work that we do, it's not really enough.
Expenses are going higher, like outside work, you know, we need to get paid a bit more.
Not so really, because our life goes so hard and very expensive, the food go very expensive.
The price of living standards and food prices keep soaring in London. However, the 6p increase in wages has not satisfied the workforce. This is Jason Manadasa, Buckingham News.
Russian police are now entitled to arrest anyone, including tourists suspected of being homosexual or in favour of homosexual minorities. How will this new legislation affect the upcoming Olympics in Sochi? Dina Bybossanova tells the story.
With the London 2012 Olympics still in mind, a countdown to next Olympics in Sochi is on its way. With less than 100 days left, Mr. Putin signed a law last month allowing the police to arrest tourists and foreigners suspected of being gay or pro-gay and detain them for up to 14 days. Following various boycotts around the world, even gay bars in New York, London and elsewhere have boycotted Russian vodka.
Речь идет о том, чтобы оградить детей от соответствующей информации.
Kyseessä on, että lapsia suojellaan tietynlaisesta informaatiosta.
В некоторых странах, ну, например, в европейских, здесь в Финляндии считают, что не нужно детей от этого ограничивать. Не ограничивайте, мы не собираемся вмешиваться в ваши вопросы. А мы будем ограничивать, так как решили депутаты Государственной Думы. Просим не вмешиваться в наше регулирование.
Following world protests, another public demonstration was held last Thursday outside the Barbican against conductor of London Symphony Orchestra Valery Gergiev, a friend of Putin who supports the country's anti-gay laws. Dina Bybossanova, Buckingham News.
If you are black or Asian, you are 7 times more likely to be stopped and or searched in the street by the police than white people according to latest figures, and most of the time without any evidence. Paige Crongy investigates accusations of institutional racism by Thames Valley Police.
Police in Britain have reasonable cause to stop and search anyone they deem to be suspicious. But ethnic minorities say that the real motivation behind stopping them is the colour of their skin.
Sometimes I've been with my boys and we've been stopped and they just think, group of black boys in a nice car and everything's fully legit, everything's fine, but you still get stopped just because it's like, group of black boys in a car, nice car, looking like they got nice things, there must be something illegal going on there.
Police will argue that it's because the people they're typically looking for come from particular socioeconomic backgrounds, that starts to look very much like racial profiling. It's certainly true that these people are often massively disproportionately stopped.
Many say that instead of being a part of society that's being protected, their ethnicity is a part that's being policed against.
If it's me and a group of my white friends or with a group of my black friends, or if it's a mixture group, I'm expecting all of us to get the same treatment.
When asked if that's what happens in practice, his response was simple.
No, of course it doesn't.
Paige Cronje, South East News.
There has been a push to boycott new movie Ender's Game following anti-gay remarks from the author of the original novel. There has been an outcry from the gay community, but how much of an impact will this have on ticket sales? Tolu Ogundipe has more on the story.
Orson Scott Card, the author of the 1985 novel Ender's Game, has been anything but shy about sharing his stance on same-sex marriage, referring to the LGBT community as sexual deviants. Despite the efforts of many groups to deter people from buying his books and watching the movie, it seems this is simply generating more buzz for his work.
I don't really care that if he is against gay people or anyone, because that won't be portrayed in his movies.
Well, I think we should separate the actor from the art, and I'll go see it for the art, for the movie itself.
I don't see how someone else's views and opinions outside of the production should influence whether I go and see it or not.
I'm generally trying to watch movies because of what they are, a source of entertainment, telling a story, rather than not watching them because someone said it's a bad movie or the person who made it or a person that was involved with it is a bad person.
Clearly, the anti-Card movement does not have a future, as moviegoers will always choose to be entertained.
Cars that drive themselves might seem like something from the future, but in fact, they are close to becoming a reality. May Daniels explore the future of motoring.
Driverless robot vehicles, also known as pods, will be tested for the first time in Milton Keynes after £1.5 million was made available by the government. I asked some Milton Keynes residents on their views and thoughts about the new technology.
Most of the pod cars run on solar power or other forms of environmentally friendly solutions. I think these cars are beneficial for an area like Milton Keynes. These cars have the potential to reduce pollution in densely populated urban areas. However, this doesn't mean that these cars will not help the pollution in sparsely populated areas.
There's been much speculation in recent years about global oil reserves beginning to run out. As this non-renewable resource begins to dwell, high prices, outages and rationing of oil and gasoline are expected. So alternative energy solutions must be considered and implemented as soon as possible. Pod cars would greatly reduce oil consumption as well as pollution from vehicle discharges.
Which travel at 12 miles per hour will ferry people from around Milton Keynes and other parts of the UK on designated pathways, and is set to hit the streets by 2015. This is Azimay Daniels from Buckingham Live.
Money's tight, but you've got to stay in fashion. So, how do you do it? Here's a secret, but don't tell anyone. Buy it secondhand and call it vintage. Sasha Moreira has the story.
Big brands, online entrepreneurs and charity stores have all stepped up to meet the demand for vintage.
And Buckingham is no exception, as new vintage store Curious Minds opens up in Cornwall Place.
I've worked in the vintage trade for many years before this, actually for a company. It was a big vintage shop in Birmingham, and it was just something that I fell in love with. But I've always liked charity shops, and I've had second-hand clothes hand-me-downs, and it's just something I've grown up with, I think.
Foregone eras have been brought back to life as the vintage style has taken over fashion, interior design and all media platforms. But is it just a trend or is it here to stay?
Think about it. It's always been. I was talking to somebody from the 70s and they were wearing 1940s dresses.
I think it's here to stay, especially for students, because it's a lot cheaper and it's fun and it's new.
With identifiable attributes and nostalgic value, it looks like vintage is here to stay, even if it is just another term for cheaper second-hand.
The University of Buckingham's football team triumphed in their debut in the Interdivisional League Cup. Camilo Martinez was there to see it.
After a disappointing result last weekend, the University of Buckingham Football Club faced Southcote Village in the first round of Division 1 trophy. From the beginning, the visitors were dominating the match, but goalkeeper Gov Nair kept the score 0-0. Ladislao nearly converted one of the university's few chances in the first half. Southcote still looked the better team and had many attempts on goal. 10 minutes from halftime, Southcote took the lead with a curling free kick around the defensive wall. Another free kick put the University 2 goals down. However, heads stayed up and striker Will McPhee soon put his team on the scoreboard after an amazing run and cross by Stefan Regalus. Facing a home defeat, the University stepped up a gear in the last 5 minutes. George Haswell equalized the game, finishing off a sharp cross from Will McPhee. 40 seconds afterwards, Will McPhee assisted Shannon Burchell, who struck a final blow, giving the University the victory. The University of Buckingham FC awaits other results to see who they will face in the second round of the Division 1 trophy. This is Camilo Martinez reporting. France's wine capital Bordeaux was in the news last week, but it wasn't the vineyards making the headlines. Instead, 5 teenager drunken antics and a circus llama became an internet sensation. Michael Laporte tells us more.
On Halloween night, 5 young drunk men walked out of a Bordeaux nightclub and decided to visit the Italian-French circus, Batour. As a prank, they attempted to kidnap a zebra, but after a small ruckus, they finally settled for an 8-year-old llama dubbed Serge Llama. Aptly named in reference to the Bordeaux singer with the same name, Serge Llama was taken on a tour around the city, even taking the tram. The passengers on the tram alerted the police, and the men were charged with a misdemeanor. The llama was then returned to the circus, unharmed. Serge Llama instantly became an internet sensation when a multitude of memes were spread around all over the internet. Mr. John Bourtour, who complained to the police for endangerment of an animal, soon retracted the charges and created a reunion between Serge and his 5 compadres, in which dozens of people attended. Let's see what the people had to say.
If they trespassed on private property, then it's a crime, and the law should be applied.
I think it's a funny story, but it's a bit distressing for the llama, I guess.
Could this have been a publicity stunt? Only Serge would know. Michael Laporte reporting.
Thank you for watching.
Have a great evening.